You were good over here? Okay.
But again, this is exactly my point. This isn't a standard. This is.
Get myself organized. All right, why don't we go ahead and call this work session to order? Thank you all for being with us today. We are going to start as usual with board and commission interviews. I'm going to find the right page here. Maud Trost. Maud, I know I should know how to say your middle name and I don't. Would you help me, please? Bouchard. See that? I should have done that. All right, please come on up to the microphone. And you have applied for one of the vacancies on the Arts Commission. And if you'll just take a minute and tell us about yourself and why you'd like to serve on the Arts Commission, that would be great.
Yeah, my name's Maud Bouchard-Trost. I've been a resident for about 7-8 years in Webster Groves. And initially I was invited to apply for a different commission, but that was filled up. And when the attorneys shared different opportunities, the Arts Commission seemed like a good fit with my interests and schedule. I have 2 young children that are very engaged in a lot of variety of art projects, and we and being a part of the commission that helps with the community's different art events would be a really exciting, welcomed opportunity to get my family more engaged with the local community. My background is I currently work for St. Louis Economic Development Partnership in the Community Investment Department. And so I'm familiar with a lot of governmental protocol and the role of commissions and boards. So I'm personally not an artist, more of a consumer of the arts, and think that it's a fantastic mission and priority for the city of Webster Groves. That's my interest.
Great, thank you very much. Any council members have questions?
No.
No, that's,
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you.
That is a commission where we've had some very senior people recently step down. So some opportunity there. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Thank you very much.
I believe we'll have another application for the Arts Commission next week as well, but we have, or next meeting, sorry, or not?
Actually, she can't make it until May,
Okay,
but yes, she's gonna be out of town at the next meeting, but there is
Okay.
definitely one in the horizon.
all right. And we
Yes.
do have 3 vacancies right now,
Yes.
right?
Mhm.
Okay.
Correct.
All right, which brings us to reappointments, and Marilyn Bradley, who is an original member of the Arts Commission, wishes to be considered for reappointment. As I said, there are 3 vacancies. I believe she is the last of the founding members that are still serving on the Arts Commission. I think all of you know her as a well-known local artist. Do we wish to reappoint her?
Yes, she's very active in the community.
Crossroads Special Business District Advisory Commission, Joshua Tonys has served since 2014 and wishes to be considered for reappointment. We've had a vacancy for quite a long, we're actually full for the first time in a very long time, right?
Correct.
So,
A very long time.
so do we wish to reappoint Joshua to the Crossroads Commission?
To stay full.
Yes.
Yes.
And then also then Chris Westmeyer has served 1 term and wants to be reappointed to the same commission.
Yep.
Look at us moving along so efficiently. Okay,
Thank you.
that brings us to mayor, council, city updates. And which way should we start today? Let's start with you, Emma.
I think updates, our historic preservation isn't meeting this month. Green Space is doing a little update today, I think, with sustainability, and have the eco ed program going, the NOMO April going, Arbor Day coming up on April 25th at Blackburn Park. So that'll be exciting. Big tree planting as part of that. Talk coming up on the 20th, I think, of April, and then more talks coming in May and then later in the summer with sustainability. So very active and good stuff going on.
Excellent. David?
Nothing for me, Madam Mayor.
Pam?
Yes, the Sustainability Commission and Business Development Commission both met in the last 2 weeks. Sustainability, you will hear from tonight, presenting a couple of their priorities, as well as the BDC. Are they here? Okay.
Hmm.
We will wait to hear from them in the next month or so. That's it.
Emerson?
Yes, I just want to report that I had the privilege of attending the National League of Cities in Washington, DC. Very worthwhile sessions we had. I was there from my 6:05 a.m. flight ended up being 10:35.
Oh, ouch.
So it was a little delay there, but we had good sessions on Sunday, Monday, and then we went on the Hill to see our representatives. I did sit in on a couple of sessions. One of the most what was how cities are incorporating racial equity frameworks into municipal bonds.
Oh, interesting.
It was interesting. Tried to get into the affordable housing, but it was packed. It was standing room only. So I know they had a fire hazard there. But that was there. And, there were some others. The general sessions were very informative with different panels they had. The closing session, First Lady, Dr. Jill Biden, she was there, about 10, 15 minutes, giving us greetings. I also sat in on was federal support for digital equity, advancing broadband and digital skills for all. So that was very, very interesting. I tried to sneak in on the sessions that was for mayors only, but they didn't believe I was Laura Arnold. So I don't know why.
I got to give you some credentials of signing off.
I tried it twice and it didn't work. But it was a very worthwhile sessions. And then we went to the Hill on that Tuesday. We were able to shake hands with Senator Eric Schmidt. But we did have some good conversations with his office. He had to go to the Hill to do a vote. So it did take a few minutes to shake our hands and we was able to introduce ourselves. And some of the things that we mentioned, support for, we thanked them for, providing local access to federal funding for the, ALP, American Rescue Plan. That was great. And then we talked about support the Railway Safety Act. And we mentioned that our kids got to cross the railroad track to get some schools.
Yeah.
So, and then that was, they took that and also support the Farm Bill reauthorization. I was looking at for the Webster Rockfield Ministries for the farming, so I was able to do dual jobs up there. So, but it was very, very interesting, and it didn't have a chance to talk to too many individuals because it was a very tight time frame. But the ones I did talk to, their city is facing some of the situations that we are here. So it's nothing new. Eric was my guide. He didn't let me get lost in the Capitol. So it's a lot of hallways.
There are,
Yeah. And I'd leave Saturday afternoon to catch my flight back. And Eric, they met with Corey Bush in her office that afternoon as well. I think we're just a staff.
Yes, our legislative director.
Yes, so it was a very worthwhile adventure. I would recommend anybody to attend. I think the next one they're having is in Atlanta. Oh, yeah, Atlanta in November. Yeah, so that's all I got.
Great, thank you. Sarah?
Yes, no updates from Architectural Review Board, or I don't believe from Old Orchard Business District. Since my last time in a meeting, I did attend the Echo Ed presentation that Sustainability and Green Space did at the library on bees. And just have to say, it was excellent. It was well attended. It was really interesting conversations, a really great presentation, and new information, to me and to I think several in the room, and lots to go home and talk to folks about. So really appreciate the time that group has put together. And I'm looking forward to the future ones because I think they're going to be great too. And also wanted to mention the Friday night awards at the Chamber of Commerce. Shrewsbury, Rock Hill, Webster, Chamber of Commerce Awards. It was nice to have colleagues there and to get to honor one of our own for his excellent service to our community with Emerson Smith's award, but also lots of local businesses and individuals being honored. It's just a really nice reminder of all the great things going on here. So it was appreciative to be able to be there.
Great, thank you. Karen, do you have any updates?
No, spring break, the parks.
We can't hear you, even though it doesn't look like you're muted, so.
Now, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes,
Nope.
Okay,
Yes.
now, okay. So no,
Yep.
spring break, Parks and Rec was canceled, and then city planning was canceled as well, so I have nothing to report.
all right, thank you very much.
And
Mr.
I'm
City-
quarantining, so no COVID, tested negative, but my aunt that I'm caring for just this week because she lost her son, but she tested positive, so I'm in quarantine, but I tested negative, but
Thank you on behalf of all of us for
yeah.
doing that. Mr. City Attorney, do you?
I'm going to defer my time to the city manager.
Thank you so much. Good evening. Only one update, and that is regarding budget. It is budget time. We released our Balancing Act tool last Friday. You can find it online. So Balancing Act will let you balance the budget and to make any budget recommendations. We hope that lots of community members will participate. This is our second year of doing it. So it will be open for a while, and we'll continue to put some information out. There will be access in various places as well, but look in the Friday page, look on our website. And again, please take a few minutes and help us balance the budget.
I would also encourage council members to remind all boards and commission members that that's open. So that not only members do that, but anybody who might be watching those meetings. And Madam City Clerk.
Nothing there.
Okay, I do have a few things. Arts Commission met this morning, worked on, we're going to replace the City of the Arts banners, but one of the things they're working on is seeing if we can highlight local arts organizations in doing so. So that's in development. April is National Poetry Month. So Saturday, we have a appreciating haiku session at the library. We also have an evening of poetry with Dwight Bittenkoffer and his friends, a children's poetry workshop on April 23rd. And there is a new singer-songwriter night at Garden Cafe, which will be Wednesday, April 26th. You can find all of this on the city calendar, but enjoy Poetry Month with us. The other thing that I sent a note to several of you about, it came up this morning about a historic designation for the Ozark Theater. So just want to make sure that we have a chance to talk about, not in this meeting, but we need to talk about that as we move forward and see what happens with that particular property. I did attend the Child Safety and Wellbeing Fair on Saturday morning, which was very well attended and had a large number of community organizations to educate parents, provide opportunities for kids. I did want to say a huge thank you to the working group that put that together, members of the school district staff, community members, library staff members. Jillian McCoy of our police department was a critical part of that, and I thought it went very well. And I encourage people to look up the community safety pledge that came out of that I'd like for us as a city to consider. The library is now a safe place, and think about, are there places within the city that we could work to have designated safe places, whether it's City Hall, Rec Center. Those are the two that come to mind. So we'll talk about that more over time as well. And then finally, the Senior Roundtable, which former Mayor Jerry Welsh is leading, has just finished updating their senior resource guide, which is available on our website. It's available on the library's website. So if you have things that you need to do, or if you need references for seniors, it's a really comprehensive guide of resources for seniors in our community. All right.
I do have one more announcement.
Sir, please.
Good, thank you. Just want to let everybody know that the annual fundraiser for the swim pass is kicked off yesterday, I believe.
Yeah.
So feel free to donate swim passes for those that are unable to afford to pay the daily rate for the swim pass. Last year, I believe we had over, oh, I can't remember, 900 something passes to go out. So feel free to donate to your heart's desire.
And this year they're including safety and swim lessons as well.
And they're going to do the best, try to, do some swim lessons and things of that nature.
That's great. And people can donate through Webster Rock Hill Ministries. if they're interested.
All you have to do is make sure you put on the check for swim passes 2023. So it's the Alliance Federation of Dignity and the school board and the Webster Rock Hill Ministry is sponsoring that. fundraiser.
Who should that be made payable to?
Webster Rock Hill Ministry.
Got it.
All right, anyone else? Okay, we will move on to our topics then. We're going to start with the Sustainability Commission updates on the greenhouse gas initiative and the stormwater master plan. And we have Jamie Hassemeyer, Chair of the Sustainability Commission. Welcome.
Hey, I'm back. Thanks, Katie. Okay, Madam Mayor, council members, Dr. Peoples, I'm Jamie Hassemeyer, Chair of Sustainability. Thank you so much for the time this evening to explain and answer any questions you might have about this exciting opportunity that we have been talking about in the commission. I feel like I'm super loud. Is this okay?
No, you're not.
Okay.
You're fine.
Perfect.
All right.
I think you're underneath one of there, so it sounds that way, but you're good.
Yeah, I feel like Taylor Swift or something. Okay. Next slide, please, Katie. Thanks. Totally. Okay, so we have been talking about benchmarking greenhouse gas emissions. This was part of it was in our Forever Webster Groves plan, and benchmarking is really important. So we kind of get a baseline and an understanding of what's going on in our community. So we have been talking to Dr. Sharon Locke, who's a professor of environmental sciences at SIUE, to explore this idea of getting a student intern. This is something that we learned of through the Green Cities Challenge that the commission participates in, Collinsville, Illinois, which we're just like locked on their coattails, but it's good coattails to be on. They did this, and their experience was incredibly positive for their community. They were able to better identify where they were spending money, where they could save money, and basically plan and quantify sustainability projects. So some of these are community-wide. That is homes, offices, schools, stores, and other buildings. It also included for them transportation and solid waste. And then they did a different assessment of government operations. So facilities, fleet, street lights, traffic lights, and employee commutes. So they were able to gather all that data. And the intern processed all of this using some software called ICLEI, and don't ask me what that stands for right now. But the software was able to help them generate some really important facts and findings so they could make better decisions. Next slide, please, Katie. Thank you. Or is it Eric doing that? Magic. Sorry, I'm gonna get, sorry, wrong credit. Thank you, Eric. So the benefits of benchmarking and having this intern would be that we could collect data, because you cannot manage what's not measured, identify opportunities so we understand where efficiencies can be increased, assist residents, which is a really important piece of our Forever Webster Groves in education, increase awareness and opportunities for renewables and efficiencies in people's homes, reduce expenses, which I think we're all big fans of, making buildings and operations more efficient, and that will reduce energy costs. And then provide solutions and recommendations. So using this report, we would hope to look at Forever Webster Groves, the sustainability plan, and be able to plot and plan future sustainability projects for the next few years. The total request for the intern, which we were talking in January to Dr. Locke, I don't think much will change, but including their kind of overhead and then paying the intern a small stipend is $5,175. So we were thinking about, using some of those funds from ARPA that were set aside for sustainability measures to use that to fund this effort. Okay, next slide, Eric. Oh, and I should stop there just to say, do you have any questions or concerns about anything that I've shared so far?
I don't have any questions, but if I remember, the person be on site for 10 hours per week.
Yeah.
How long will they be with us? How many months?
So with the fall term getting started in August, I imagine that probably by September to December would be that timeline. I don't know specifically like what that looks like yet with Dr. We haven't ironed out all those specific details with Dr. Locke, but that's what I'm assuming that would be. And then I don't know if I shared the link to the Collinsville report for what this intern did for Collinsville.
It's in our packet.
Okay.
Yeah.
You have a copy?
Okay, great. Okay.
Very,
Impressive,
Yeah,
right?
it was.
Yeah.
So they're gonna only do our city structures, or they're going to do other structures as well?
So Collinsville did two parts. They did like city facilities and operations, and then they did like this community wide, which basically it's going to be it's the city assessment is going to be more specific because we'll be able to pull specific buildings to pull that data from Ameren, Inspire, and figure all that out. For community, it's going to be more broad, but we'll have a general idea of what it looks like so that we can understand, where we need to focus education maybe, or provide different opportunities for our residents.
I would just think of some of our larger institutions like Webster University,
Mhm.
school district,
Mhm.
if they would be interested in something like that.
Yeah,
Pony
yeah,
up and pay for it, but I think it'll be good to have all of our major facilities in the city.
yeah, I agree. And Collinsville is different because they have like big ag and some more industrial type settings. And so they were able to pull some information there. I feel like we are unique in that we have a lot of educational institutions here and also nonprofits, church and religious organizations. And so I think this is, I feel, fertile ground for some collaborative workings with those groups.
my only note is we had a community member reach out to us about the greenhouse gas reduction fund through the EPA. And I'm not sure if you've seen their notes on that, but if you haven't, I'm happy to forward that on to you just as like a consideration of something
Okay.
that might,
Do
it sounds like I've not like done my own research on this. It says that local governments are eligible for grants from a $7 billion fund through the Inflation Reduction Act. You apply through the EPA. And if you partner with a green bank, then there's an additional pot of money available for
Okay.
that. So maybe after the student worker does their assessment, this might be some grant funding that we might be able to tap into.
Yeah.
As part of that. I just want to make sure that bring it to your awareness.
Thanks for bringing that up. Yeah. Is that from
It's climate changers, climate change makers.
Mm.
It's a form letter that you do from their website.
Okay.
But it's funny, I had on my list to send it to you and Todd as well.
Okay.
So you'll get it from one of us.
Great?
Okay.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. Yeah. Okay, awesome. Any other questions
Other
before I
questions
move to
about
my
this?
last exciting
right.
slide? Okay.
On to stormwater.
Oh yeah, almost. I
not
just
quite.
wanted to give
Okay,
a
there we
quick
go.
little rundown of the things that sustainability has been working on. We wanted to do just some kind of silly, well, not silly, but fun and important information sharing with our community. So we have some of our commission members working on talking to various sustainable businesses nearby and or in Webster, and also reaching out to like some of the cyclists who ride every Saturday morning with the hub, just to kind of like get some good vibes and share some interesting facts for Earth Month, which is like my high holiday. So yay. We've also been working with where I really feel strongly about building a stronger bridge with the school district. We reached out to the Mr. Eric Hayes at Hickson, and he has 3 full classes of sustainability course. And 2 of our commission members and I were able to meet with those classes and talk to them about sustainability and how we're all part of that solution. And they have this incredible garden and chickens and pollinator habitats, and they've got a lot of really great things going on. And then someone from the high school reached out, and she wants to be like a high school delegate on the commission. And so I'm working with her on getting her to our next meeting, hopefully. We also, of course, have worked with, we're working with Dave Buck and his awesome group of people pulling together Webster on Wheels. So we're really excited about that, which is Sunday, May 7th. We've worked with city staff who've been so generous and incredibly thorough on getting us ready for a bigger solar push for our community to help residents understand all of the savings that are available to them if they want to get renewables on their home. And with our Eco Ed series, we are in the planning stages of getting our half of the year populated. I think we're going to take July as a breather because I think Webster does that in general. And then bring some exciting speakers starting in August. So with that, I will introduce Carrie Coyne, if I could. Is that okay?
Of course.
Please, thanks. Carrie has a few slides to share with you about a really exciting speaker that we have coming up.
Maybe. I think I sent them to Katie, but that's okay. I can work without slides. There's only 3, so I think I can do some charades or something.
We've gotten so used to having pictures for everything.
Yeah, well,
so-
they're nice. They kind of pictures worth a
Did I
1,000
hear
words.
that we maxed out our signs?
We did max out our no April signs. Very exciting. Yes. Jen's been great
So
and she
while
ordered some more.
waiting, will you remind our community where NOMO April came from and what the benefits of it are?
Oh,
We've had
gosh.
some questions about that. If you
Yeah.
can, I mean, I know I'm putting you on the spot, so a very brief would be good.
Sure. And I am putting a little flyer together. I talked to Jen today with just some bullet points because I know you guys get questions and she gets questions. So we'll send that to you probably tomorrow.
Oh,
just so you
okay, then
have
that's
some-
good.
Yeah, but that's sort of a little bit more of the science behind
Yeah.
where the whole movement is coming from. But we really have modeled the program or the initiative that we're doing here in the city after some communities in Wisconsin. And I think they've been doing that for a couple of years, but before that, this initiative really got pushed off in the UK.
Okay.
So it's been going on for a while, and the Green Space Commission is just very excited about, this and a passion for change and creating habitat in our community as well. So
Thank you. That was
Yeah.
excellent, considering I put you on the spot.
yeah, and I have actually another flyer too that we've been giving out as information about our initiative itself. So I can make sure that comes to you tomorrow with the talking points.
That would be great.
And I
Should we
didn't,
just go ahead or?
We can, Katie's gonna send it. As soon as I get it, I'll put it up.
I'm
Okay.
sorry.
That's okay.
Carrie, do you want to go ahead and tell us about?
Yes,
who
I will
this-
go
this
ahead.
speaking-
Yeah. Thank you. So this has to do with the Eco Ed series that Jamie mentioned. the Green Space Commission, when Douglas Hill discussions were happening, the Green Space Commission was really trying to do some study on, how the city should address these issues, or what, providing another perspective maybe for the types of development and floodplains. That's stormwater is an issue in our community. And we were just looking at lots of different resources to help see if we could provide a new perspective. So Pam was actually on our commission at that time, and we found a reference from the Missouri Department of Conservation. It's a planning tool that their planner Rhonda Burnett put together. And we talked about that with the commission and shared that. Actually had someone local, Josh Ward from MDC, come and talk to our commission about that. And recently, so that's the reference manual. Thank you guys so much. So recently, if you go to the next slide, Katie. Or Eric.
Come on, it's coming.
I had the pleasure of, yeah, that one. Going to a Grow Native conference, which is an initiative or a movement. It grew out of the Missouri Department of Conservation, but now they work locally, regionally, really in the lower Midwest to educate people about native plants. And they curated a whole series of speakers on March. I can't remember what day it was. It was March, or it was March 10th. And I thought to myself, I need to go because Rhonda is speaking. So I got to learn a little bit more about her. She's a planner, so she has a degree in planning from Louisiana State and a master's degree, I think, from Kansas State. And she's been working as a planner with MDC for a while. So I got to ask her some questions and hear basically a presentation that talked about the examples of implementation of these tools in communities around Missouri. And I just decided, I had asked actually a couple of people from the city to go with me to that event, and I know it was short notice. So I just, after the event, I went up to her and I said, hey, will you come to Webster? We need to hear you. And I thought we can just have her at an eco ed talk. So right then I just picked a date, just kind of winged it, which is June 22nd. It's a Thursday, so that sort of falls in line with our eco ed series. And if you go to the next slide, I want to personally invite all of you to come to that, especially city staff. I know Todd and Mara, I think it would be great if you could come from the planner's perspective, and Dr. Peoples as well, because I think this manual can provide some more perspective on things that we can do in the city, and maybe help all of us better understand what that momentum is here in the city that seems to be growing, and we're excited to be part of. And then, we need to consider all these resources for down the road. So I think it'd just be a great perspective to share. So Rhonda is coming at 6:30, where we've got the Science Auditorium at Webster University lined up, and we were going to do a meet and greet. And through the commissioners and also with the Sustainability Commission, we were going to reach out to some other community members, hopefully neighboring communities, and other people sort of leading this movement in the region, like Stacy Arnold from the Deer Creek Watershed and Danielle Hake from the where is she from she's the director of River Watch, and then some local folks from the MDC too will be there.
Great.
So that's going to be sort of a meet and greet, and then her presentation again on this very subject. And you can actually find this document. It's a PDF document. You can find it online, so you could read it beforehand, decide if you want to hear any of these issues. And that talk is at 7 o'clock. And then actually, when I invited Rhonda to come, she said, well, why don't I come and we'll make a day of it? Because she offices out of Columbia, Missouri. So we are going to, I asked Yvonne and Yvonne said she would be happy to host Rhonda. We're going to walk through some of the green spaces, some of the places like Deer Creek Park that have been, lots of flood issues. So just talk about big picture ideas. So you're welcome to come to that too. I know you guys don't have all day, but we would love to see you in the evening for sure.
Great. Thank you very much.
Do you have any questions?
Yeah. All right, we're good to
Okay,
go.
and you can email me if you want to come. I would love to know if you're gonna come. We
Okay.
can reserve a seat for you.
Thanks,
And I'm
Karen.
sure, Emily, you will remind us as liaison as
I
we
will.
get closer, right?
For
Good.
sure.
Yeah, right.
I will send those documents to you, Emily, tomorrow about NOMO.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, Karen.
All right.
And I'll be brief. So mine ties into all this, the NOMO and the conservation, all that going with the flooding. So from the flooding at last summer, the sustainability in a green space said, well, we need to come up with a stormwater master plan. And I said, well, we already have one, but it's from 2002. So they said, okay, well then let's update it. Dr. Peoples was on board, so I went out and did a request for qualifications from engineering firms. I sent it out to 6 different companies. Only 2 responded. So Carrie and Jamie and myself and Gregory Donovan, we reviewed all the 2 proposals and we graded them. And then we all were in agreement that we should go with Intuition and Logic. The other one was HR Green. So I reached out to Intuition and Logic, had a meeting with them, told them exactly what we were looking for, what kind of a plan I was looking for, and I asked them to put together a proposal. So they submitted a proposal. I'll be bringing it to you at the next meeting for you to vote on it. The total cost to update our existing master plan, stormwater master plan, is $151,460. And I included this, I think it's in your packet, what they're going to be doing as far as they're going to create a questionnaire that we can send out to residents to try and get some information on flooding areas. And then they'll put that all together, put it onto our GIS map, and they'll go out and they'll do field reconnaissance and get all that data, put together a report. They'll do the final report to me. I'll review it and we'll make any changes to it, updates. Then they will come and do a presentation to all of you. And then after that, we will then have an open house with residents to show them what we've done as our update to the master plan.
All right. Questions for Todd? I do have one question for Jamie, if I might. Would you mind coming back for just a second? So this dollar amount is big.
Yes.
You all as a sustainability commission have lots of other initiatives. You don't have to answer this right now, but this is something that I think the commission needs to get to us because we're beginning budget season to really think about what is it that you're really asking us to put into the budget this year. So that we can work with whatever numbers we need to work with over the next couple of months.
Yeah.
Again, I'm not making a decision about this, but you and I both know that this is a higher number than we had hoped for.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, for
so
sure.
if I would just make that request of the commission,
Yes.
I don't know if anybody else has anything else, that we just get a little bit more information as we go to budget season.
Yeah, we've been working on prioritizing the 2023 priorities
Yeah.
that we selected from Forever Webster Groves. So those numbers are starting to fall into place.
Great.
And we'll have those for you shortly.
And I know it's hard because you want to do them all.
Yeah.
I really do understand that. So,
Yeah.
but thank you. And thank you to Todd to you, but also the Green Space and Sustainability Commissions, because I know you all are working hard. So we appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. We do not have the Business Development Commission. You'll see it on your agenda, but that will be rescheduled. We have made some appointments, or actually I'm supposed to ask you now whether you wanted to make those appointments to boards and commissions, and I got ahead of myself. Anybody want to change their mind on anything? All right. Then I think we have reached the end of our work session.
Are we gonna hold off on the Arts Commission appointments till next?
Seems like, I think we agreed to go ahead and appoint since we had 3 openings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Very good.
Rather than wait, because we also have to wait a whole
Sure.
month anyway.
Yeah.
So,
Okay, I just want to make sure.
All right, well then I think that concludes the work session. We have 6 minutes until our start time at 7:30. So we will restart at 7:30 with our regular meeting. And I can see the crowd is beginning to gather for Mickey, so make sure you're here. We are happy to have you with us. We welcome questions, ideas, and comments from persons in attendance, also via Zoom. Members in attendance may comment only when I recognize you. And if you filled out a speaker card, if you'd like to speak, they're over on the table near the door. Please do fill that out for us. If you are on Zoom, you can use the raise your hand function when we get to that point in the meeting, and we will then recognize you to speak. Your comments, we'd ask you limit them to 3 minutes so that we can move through our meeting efficiently. And please note that that's a time for public comments. Council members do not respond at that time to those public comments. I think that is our instructions as we begin. So we'll start with the roll call, please.
Yes, Mayor. Mayor Arnold.
Here.
Councilmember Bliss. Here. Councilmember Franklin.
Here.
Councilmember Smith.
Here.
Councilmember Alexander.
Here,
Councilmember Alexander.
I said here, you can't hear me?
Yes, now I can.
Here, okay.
Councilmember Richardson. Here. Councilmember Hickson Shepherd.
Here.
All right. We have the absolute pleasure of recognizing via proclamation one of our, I'm not going to say long time, one of our esteemed employees who is retiring, Mickey Kelsch. And so I'm going to come down and I'm going to invite the council to do so as well. There was a reception for Mickey last week that I understand was very well attended. So every accolade that you received, you deserve, but we'll read the proclamation and represent the street sign and then let you say a few words if you'd like. And we even have a mobile microphone now. So. All right, council, come on down.
I don't need that.
I don't know. I will need right to you. Except we'll see. Oh, I can use the microphone. Look at that. All right. Whereas Mickey McKee Kelsch began her employment with the city of Webster Groves in 1989, where she has served as recreation manager, recreation superintendent, and community development assistant for the Parks and Recreation Department. And whereas Mickey brought with her a Bachelor of Science degree in Recreation and Park Administration from the University of Missouri Columbia, and continued her education throughout her career at Webster Groves, receiving a Master's of Arts degree in Media Communication from WU, which I'm going to believe is Webster U. Okay, good. And a JD degree from St. Louis University. And whereas Mickey's passion for the community, fellow employees, and the people of Webster Groves is evidenced in so many ways, and her experience, knowledge, and skills have been invaluable resources for the city. She was instrumental in starting many park and rec programs, always innovative and enthusiastic. Whereas Mickey's commitment to recreation and various volunteer groups earned her the Missouri Parks and Recreation Association Associate Fellow Award, Rotarian of the Year, and the opportunity to participate in many events, serve on committees, and participate in programs that benefited our city. Locally, she's been active in our Chamber of Commerce and so many other organizations, and is always ready to snap a photo at any event. Isn't that the truth? Whereas after, I saw you before you were even doing it. Whereas after nearly 34 years of service, Mickey will now have the time to pursue her many interests, including her family, travel, learning, and much more, and to focus on the things that are most important to her. Now, therefore, I, Laura Arnold, Mayor of the City of Webster Groves, on behalf of the entire City Council, wish to thank and honor Mickey McKee Kelsch for her many years of service to our community and for making Webster Groves a better place to live, work, and play, and do hereby proclaim Friday, April 7th, 2023 as Mickey McKee Kelsch Day in the City of Webster Groves. Oh, yeah. All right, and if you would like to say any words, you're. Here,
Oh, you don't want to give me a microphone now. No, really, I do want to say a few words. I was born at Deaconess Hospital. No, I'm just kidding. I really want to, I've got my wonderful family here. I've got my mom, Nessie, and my husband, Mike. And, they actually have supported me through everything. And I cannot thank them enough for all their support. Mike takes care of our doggies while I'm away doing my stuff. So, but honestly, I have been blessed throughout my life, beyond family, blessed with amazing workmates, and blessed with exceptional administration and city councils, because you hear about other cities and I think Webster is cream of the crop. So really, I feel very, very blessed to have served out my 33 years here. And yeah, you can call me long time. I call myself an old friend, so I think yours is a little bit better. But anyway, thank you all very, very much. Thank you, and thank you. Also to Scott Davis, who's the director there, the most creative problem solver I have ever met in my entire life. So thank you all very much. And Michelle, I almost forgot Michelle, my longtime workmate. And in prime fashion, Dave Garth was going to be here, but he's always 20 minutes late to everything. So he'll be popping in the door any moment, I'm sure. Thank you. That's right. That's right. Thank you.
All right, we will move on to our public hearing. The Crossroads Plan Commercial District 8720 through 8780 Big Bend Boulevard. Amendments to ordinance number 8099. Proposed amendments include uses and development regulations in order to match current city code regulations. And I am now going to open the public hearing, and we will start with Director of Planning and Development, Mara Perry.
Good evening. So this public hearing is a little unusual, just because typically when we come forward with a hearing, it's a hearing that's been brought forth by an applicant. In this case, it's the city who is technically the applicant in this case, because back when the original ordinance was put in place, the city was also the applicant in bringing forth a development area to give flexibility for a planned district to develop two ends of the district and create a city parking lot. So what we're doing this evening is looking at that specific ordinance. It's old enough that some of the language isn't great in terms of how it was modeled at that time. And so it was a little difficult for me to help interpret the code for some potential new tenants going into buildings within the district. So I had suggested that it might be best for us to bring this forward and be able to amend the ordinance to make it work very well for those businesses and future businesses to be able to be interpreted. So the area that you can see here is outlined in red. It's purple because it's the PC planned commercial zoning. You can see it's surrounded on the north side of Big Bend. You have both PC planned commercial as well as C commercial district. To the east and to the west is additional C commercial district. And to the south, you have Interstate 44 and the railroad. This is the property here. It consists of 1.8 acres. There are 8 existing structures as well as existing private and public parking lots. The history of this is it was actually formerly industrial with a road down the middle of it. And in 1930, the properties on the north side of the little road were changed to commercial and the south side remained industrial. In 1993, the property on the far western edge was completely zoned out of the industrial into commercial. And then later in 1999, this development was created to remove and vacate the street, rezone the whole thing, all the industrial and the commercial, to be a PC planned commercial, which helped establish the development. I always put up the comprehensive plan because it's important to note, when it was rezoned in 1999, it was in conformance, and it remains in conformance of the comprehensive plan. So what I'm going to do, normally I go through my analysis and then I end with, here's our recommendations. And instead, I'm going to kind of go through the recommendations and just show you how it matches up and what minor changes we're making. So the first part of the ordinance relates to the permitted uses. In the 1999 ordinance, they referenced a section of the code that no longer exists because over the last 10 years, we've updated our code to clean up our uses, to create a use chart, make it easier for developers to see what they can and can't do. So it no longer referenced a code section that existed. So essentially we're going, and instead of saying that it references these sections 1 through 5 that don't exist, we're tying it back to the specific use chart and matching up what they were allowed to have before. And essentially anything that's in the D district that they would have been allowed to have, as well as some of the expanded uses. Because again, it used to be like one big retail use, but then it would say includes shopping, it includes this, it includes that. It would have real specific uses. We've kind of expanded those uses in the chart. And so we wanted to reference uses that would tie nicely with what would have been approved 20 plus years ago. So in the chart, we reference that they can use the D permitted uses with the exception of mortuaries, which was something that would have been excluded back then. Conditional food and beverage uses remain as conditional uses. That's exactly what was in the previous ordinance. The next section was related to 8780 Big Bend because it wasn't constructed at the time. So in order to, again, be consistent, we did not hold a hearing before the Plan Commission because we were trying to just clean up the ordinance. So we're going to keep all the regulations that essentially helps them build what they built within the ordinance. So all of these are exactly the same as what they were allowed before. They were allowed to build up to 9,000 square feet, 1 story in height. They were permitted office and retail uses only. So it specified something a little bit different than the rest of the overall district. It required or said that they could build 49 parking spaces that are private to their lot and that they had to be architecturally compatible. So again, making no changes, just moving it to the correct part of the section. Same thing with the other end of Big Bend. Also, 8720 wasn't built at the time. That one was much more specific. It said you could build up to 2,400 square feet, 1 story in height. It specifically was supposed to have a coffee shop, so we left that in there. Coffee shop, no drive-through is permitted without a conditional use permit, whereas everything else was in there. It also said you couldn't serve meals on the premises, so we left that in. Right now, for those that probably know the building well, there's a dentist and then there's a stationery or printing shop. So I don't think we're gonna have a coffee shop right now.
Were they gonna build a Dunkin' Donuts there or something?
They're not. 1/3 of the lot was at the northeastern end was to be developed as public open space. You'll probably notice there is a landscape space at that northern end. Landscaping of the private area is supposed to be maintained by the property owner. 9 private parking spaces. There's supposed to be a perpetual access off the back city parking lot to get to a couple more spaces in the back. And it talks about the ingress and egress off Elm and Big Bend. Again, left everything exactly the same for what they were able to do and build. There was one thing that's a little odd in there, and I didn't make any changes to it, and we could update it, but at this point we left it the way it was. It had development of a parking lot at the addresses now known as that we now call 8778 Big Bend. This was a portion of the lots on the north, the vacated road, as well as some of the lots on the south, and it created a public parking lot that is now used by the Crossroads Business District. On the north side, because many of the properties on the north gave some of their land to help create the parking lot, they have their own private spaces behind their buildings. And then it's the southern spaces in that parking lot that are city spaces. So technically right now there's 19 public parking spaces and 16 private spaces. When the ordinance went in place, it said with up to 30 public and 9 private. Again, we could update it to match exactly what it is today. Again, I didn't really want to touch too much. The overall ends up at 39 and we're at 35. So the overall number of spaces is still less than was originally approved in the ordinance. It didn't have anything about structure setbacks. We do put structure setbacks in our ordinances today. So we just stated that the structure setbacks will be as same as those in the D district. And that allows them to build up to the street and have 0 lot lines between their buildings. And then the last thing that we took out is many times if there is a restriction on parking in a site-specific ordinance, it's very difficult for the police department to uphold those because they're not in the same code section as all the other regulations. So instead of putting any specific parking information about, whether you can park overnight or how many hours you can park, we're referencing that parking shall follow the regulations of Chapter 60. That way, if the district makes some changes, whether it's the 2-hour parking or how many spaces can be public or private, it'll follow what can be upheld by the police department. The last thing in here is related to just meeting the general D commercial district regulations. So we did put in just that it would meet the D setbacks. So in case one of these buildings came down at some point, it would be able to be rebuilt essentially with very similar location and setbacks. And that is it, trying to keep it as simple as possible. Any questions?
Questions for Mara?
Not here.
None for me.
All right, thank you very much. We do have a couple of public comments. Jeff Sanders, if you'd like to come forward. If you'll just give us your name and your address, and you have 3 minutes.
Jeff Sanders, I own the building at 8780 Big Bend. It's a multi-tenant office building, it's built in 2001. So Mara's answered all the questions I really had and why I came tonight, because I didn't know if there was something else in the works for the district that was just behind all this, or if it was just what she's explained and explained to me during the break, that it's really just a correction of the codes and an updating the stuff that doesn't exist anymore. So at this point, I really don't have any further questions. Everything seems to be aligned correctly. Especially if some of these buildings get raised, that they can be built back pretty much like they are on the streetscape, because it just is a 0 lot line. But
yeah,
that's a potential for some of these buildings in that stretch.
Great, thank you very much.
You're
We
welcome.
appreciate you being here.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Also have a card from Mark Brennan.
Thank you very much. My name is Mark Brennan. I am not a Webster resident. I'm here on behalf of a client of mine. I'm a commercial real estate broker. I work for a company called Cozad Commercial Real Estate. I represent a real estate investor, Samantha Obercrum. She's in attendance. If there's any questions, we can field them for you. We are here basically with regards to the planned commercial district. The property is currently under contract and the plan is to redevelop that property essentially on the inside. The commercial spaces would be redeveloped into a high-end salon, the second floor, with or without special use permits, conditional use permits. We would like to discuss at some later date 2 residential units on the second floor of the building. You might remember it as a counseling office with a small chiropractor's office next to it. Okay, the 2-story section would be redeveloped in its entirety, and potentially the entire first floor might also be redeveloped as well. So the reasons we're here is because the residential component of that is kind of integral to the overall redevelopment. And then the parking as well. Because of the use and because it may have a residential component to it, the parking, we would hope we could find some level of agreement on how long people could park there for X number of spots. to make the redevelopment makes sense.
All right, thank you.
Unless anybody's got any questions, that's about all I had to say.
So your main concern is just parking and the length of parking?
The main concern is the ability to add a residential component to the second floor of the building. Probably equally important would be the parking, the ability for customers to be there for as long as they need to be for the services, and for then any residents that would be parking essentially overnight.
This is further
Hi.
tomorrow.
I'm Samantha Obercrom. I am not currently a Webster resident, but I grew up here. So I grew up on Swan down the road, right around the corner from the high school. Looking forward to coming back to Webster. And in regards to the parking specifically, definitely, from my understanding is that it's got a 2-hour maximum limit as far as visitors or any type of car going and parking in the spaces, with the exception of the allocated spots. So my I guess preference would be that there would be some kind of conversation about flexibility with that time constraint. And then in regards also to if we were to be able to make the upstairs a residential space, we're talking about tenants that would be on lot, for a period of time overnight. And I do think there are stipulations for overnight parking on that
Okay.
spot.
Have you all had direct conversations with our Director of Planning and Development at this point?
Yes.
Okay. So I thank you very much for those public comments. I'm going to let you all, if you don't mind, go ahead and take your seats. We've got your public comments and appreciate you making them. Do we want to hear from Mara? I guess the question is residency and parking. So what would it take to do residential in that if it's allowed? And so just help us understand what's the barrier here that we're talking about?
There's no barrier to the residential because the code was updated again with multiple uses. So
Okay.
there's no barrier to the residential. And then in regards to the parking, that's something that has to be taken up by the Crossroads Business District, because they do have the 2-hour parking in place and they put it in place for a reason, for the public spaces. And then for the private spaces, each of the businesses has their own spaces, and those are not specified from what I look in the code for overnight or not overnight. So there is that ability that someone could park in the private spaces, but usually city parking lots are not able to be parked in overnight because they don't want cars on city lots overnight for multiple purposes. So, I mean, it really just comes down to that's a completely separate code section that would need to be addressed. I tried to update this code section so that it referenced the big overarching chart, which we had already addressed a couple of years ago for residential in the upper stories of the D commercial district.
So who owns that one?
It's a city lot.
It is.
Yeah.
And then the Crossroads has designated parking spots. Certain businesses have designated parking spots.
No, so going back to, sorry if my slide goes back up again, but when they created the parking lot, the buildings on the north side on Big Bend, each gave essentially the city part of their lots in order to establish and create the public parking lot. So on the north side, behind of the parking lot, behind each of those businesses, they do have designated their own private spots. So you're going to the orthodontist has a couple designated spots that they use. And those are usually for their employees and things like that, because there's no hourly designation to them. On the south side, it's a 2-hour, so that they can turn around. People can come into different appointments and do different things. And that 2-hour designation was something that was put in the time since I've been here, because they were having people parking so long that people couldn't get customers in and out. So on the north side of the street, there's a city lot that is not signed for any hourly issues. It's essentially like a first come, first serve. A lot of employees park there. And then on the south side, that lot is the one that has the 2-hour designation to help keep people moving.
So just to keep us on track here, what we are considering today would have no bearing on a residential use, right? It's already
Well, I mean,
there.
it has a bearing as it now lets,
Yeah, it will exist.
yes.
And then we would have to take up parking separately. And that might come in the form of a recommendation from the Crossroads Business District.
That could potentially come as a recommendation from Crossroads, correct?
Okay. Questions or comments?
That covers it.
Okay, thank you very much. Do we have any Zoom comments? I forgot to ask during the regular comment section, at least for the public hearing. All right, then I will ask the city attorney to enter the items into the record, please.
I would move for the admission of the following documents. The city council staff report created by Mara Perry, Director of Planning and Development for the meeting date April 4, 2023. Ordinance 8099, Director Perry's PowerPoint before the city council this evening, April 4th of 2023. And finally, the zoning code of the city of Webster Groves.
All right, I will go ahead and close this public hearing. And could we have the first and second reading, please?
Yes, Mayor, I'd like to call for the first and second reading of bill number 9222.
Second.
For once, I got my part right.
Oh,
And
I
now
did-
we're up to you.
Beg your pardon. Bill 9222, first reading, an ordinance amending ordinance 8099 for a PC planned commercial district on an approximately 1.8 acre tract of land at the southwest corner of Elm Avenue and Big Bend Boulevard, including properties at 8720 through 8780 Big Bend Boulevard, and repealing ordinance 8099 and matters related thereto. You know there's something wrong when you look up and everyone's looking at you and you think, why are they all looking at you?
Are there any comments or questions? All right, I'm just going to suggest that you keep working with Director Perry about the parking part of this, and we'll see where we can go from here. But it sounds like the residential part is fine. All right, second reading, please.
Bill 9222, second reading. An ordinance amending ordinance 8099 for a PC planned commercial district on an approximately 1.8 acre tract of land at the southwest corner of Elm Avenue and Big Bend Boulevard, including properties at 8720 through 8780 Big Bend Boulevard, and repealing ordinance 8099 and matters related thereto.
All right, thank you very much. We will now move on to remarks from the community and visitors. I have 4 cards here, and I will start with Mr. Dennis Chuddy, I believe is. And if you'll just come on up and state your name and address, and you'll have 3 minutes once you get started. We don't count until you get here.
So you'll have to forgive me. I did not get the chance to prepare what I'd like to say until I just wrote my quick notes at the back of the room. But I can speak mostly from my own thoughts and feelings. So my name is Dennis Chuddy. I have residences at 325 Marion Avenue and one on Atalanta Avenue. And obviously I'm a taxpayer for both. I come here out of a sincere concern as a citizen about what is currently happening to our fire and police departments. I respect everything you all do, and I respect every function of the city. But it's one of the macroeconomic advantages of a city, as I may recall, is that a city can provide essential services, as you all know, that individuals could not afford on their own. Well, I think it's not really a debate that emergency type services are the fundamental thing that's provided. Everything's important, but when something can involve life and death or serious events, that becomes more important. And most people don't even think about this in their daily life. They think about other problems, issues, or what district, where their school, the kids are going to go to school and be educated. And that's normal. But when they come across something like planning for a medical event or a legal event, building a structure or whatever that requires technical knowledge and skill, they start doing a lot of research. They want the best doctor, the best lawyer, the best architect, whatever the case may be, go to the best hospital, and they have time to plan it out. However, in an unplanned event in one's life, which is basically the definition of an emergency, you're pretty well, your research on your care or help is pretty well reliant on the outcome of dialing 911. And then you are subject to whoever or whatever shows up to help. Now, and I will also say that Maslow's hierarchy of needs, as almost everybody knows, will immediately drop to the bottom level of survival when one of these major events comes up. So I think that spells out enough to say that, hey, you know, this is really one of the most important functions we have to have for our city. Well, with all due respect to, and I will focus on police and fire now, and most of my experiences with fire EMS in my distant past, but some things remain in your brain
Okay.
decades out. Would you
That
just finish up briefly, please, sir?
I will say it. How much time do I have?
Like 15 seconds.
So
Your 3
people
months.
come out of training in school with tests passed, and they've got a fair amount of knowledge, but they don't gain really important knowledge in the application of that knowledge until they've had time and experience. You get a much higher level of care and or service with the more experienced employees. But every time you have a turnover, which has been going on way too much in the past year or two, that's been brought to my knowledge, you lose that higher level of care and experience, and you basically start all over at the bottom. Furthermore, if paying overtime is an issue, well, the cost of turnover is huge in most professional positions.
Thank you
can
very
reduce
much,
that.
sir.
And if you retain more employees, you don't have the overtime to worry about as much.
Thank you very much. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Thank you.
I'll try to write something a little bit more concise and better for next time.
Yeah, and feel free to send us any additional thoughts you have. Absolutely.
I wouldn't send this, you couldn't read it.
We also have Rhonda Karsten, please. Wait till you get up there because people on Zoom won't hear you.
I'm really not good at this. So I just want to preface this by saying, I agree with you, Mayor Arnold. We need the community to speak. I am not a firefighter, never was, not a member of any union, never was. I'm a 30-year plus resident of Webster Groves. And I just want to say very simply, I support and respect and very much value our fire department, our police department, and all of the employees who work for the city of Webster Groves. And I believe we need an administration that does the same. That's all I have to say. Thank you all.
Thank you. We also have Evie, I think Evie Yost. Oh, it's a T at the end. Got it. Okay. Evie Yost, please come on forward.
My name is Evie Yost. I live at 524 Lee Avenue. As a citizen of this town, this is how I and many others see the firefighters and paramedics. They aren't just staff on a rotation being paid to complete a service. They are men and women who choose a profession that requires great skill and stamina to ensure that we have someone to turn to in times of personal or community crisis. They are trained to handle stress and traumatic experiences without a moment's notice, and just like a soldier, this deserves respect. The men are not only firefighters, but they are part of the town. They are what make Webster feel like a community and feel like home. Mayor Welch respected this relationship, and it's one of the reasons she will always be missed. When the fire department went with only one working truck and ambulance, was it the city that notified the people? No, it was a concerned citizen exposing this decision, and it lasted days and not simply hours. The city was presented with an opportunity to own their harmful conduct and rectify this situation. However, they chose to call the citizen's boss in an attempt of intimidation. You want the people to respect you, but with conduct like that, why should they? You want the people to believe you have their best interest in mind. How can that be? When I call 911, I shouldn't have to wonder if a fire engine will come or if it will be a pickup truck. I shouldn't have to wonder if a working ambulance will arrive or if we're depending on mutual aid for backup. You say public safety is a priority, but your actions say the exact opposite. You say everything you do is for budget, but a bulk of that budget comes from the people who should thus be guaranteed that their safety shouldn't even be in question. You say you're upset with the allegations of the firefighters and their union. I can't imagine how the firefighters and their unions must feel when their own city can't provide them with efficient equipment, assurances in their salary, and respect not only for their jobs, but also for longstanding firefighters, many who have left due to the difficulties the city has subjected them to. You said in February the department didn't need to worry about another truck because the new ladder truck was arriving soon, and yet now it's April and that truck is still not here. You also chose to depend on mutual aid. However, what will the city do when mutual aid isn't available, but the crisis at hand requires immediate attention? You chose to let a collective agreement expire and terminate so you could devise a payment plan suitable for you, but not for the firefighters, and yet you claim it's the union acting in bad faith. You say the firefighters are at fault for overtime. Let's not forget circumstances beyond their control, such as the loss of personnel, COVID circumstances, and military leave. You use the budget to endorse environmental issues such as Save Monarchs and No Mow April, but you will not ensure that that budget covers all matters of our safety and the firefighters' safety and the ability to do their job. Your priorities may be the budget, but the city has a heart. Replace the heart with a cash box and you may reap profit, but you will lose the quality of the love that both employees and citizens of this community have poured into Webster until it is no longer Webster Groves. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Perfectly timed. And we have one remaining card, Mr. Ed Golterman.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm a visitor from the city of trees up the road, Kirkwood. But I'm here tonight to just say how welcoming the month of April is, the good things that you've already talked about. Let me add that it was in April of 1917, 2 weeks from now, that St. Louis decided to build the greatest outdoor theater in America and built it in 50 days and opened it for 50,000 people over 6 nights. And let me remind you that in April of 1934, we opened Kiel Opera House, the front part of the finest and newest civic center in the country, second in size, only to the Hippodrome in New York, but even better. April is also my birth month. So we're looking at some of your wonderful restaurants here to, if we can get in, to have a little gathering of the family. Let's also use April to start the steps to rebirth the Ozark Theater. I think it'll take multiple initiatives, things happening at the same time. Usually good things require collaboration and things that happen at the same time. And I think time is always a factor when you're dealing with an older historic asset. So may I urge you to, as you alluded tonight, to begin the process of getting it on the National Register for historic places. It presents so many advantages to all the parties involved that we've already talked about. Allow me to donate a check of $500 to start that process, and my willingness to assist in any of the research or any of the steps as you may decide to do this. And again, you can do this independently and make it a great surprise for everybody. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We have a hand online? Yes, please go ahead. I'm sorry. Oh, Raj Sherman Vollinger, is that whose hand is up? And
Yeah, they go ahead.
Yeah, can you hear me?
we can, please go ahead.
Okay, I'm sorry I'm not there in person. I actually had surgery today and I'm somewhat woozy, so I'll say that, but I'm going to offer my couple minutes of remarks here. Yes, my name is Raj Sherman Vellinger. I live at 232 Spring Avenue, and I'm here to address the situation of the city and our firefighters. I'm retired now, but I spent 40 career years working with organized labor as a union rep, a negotiator, an educator, and in community services. I'm speaking tonight, however, as a Webster resident, but I am not a novice in labor management disputes and relationships. With values I hold dear, it troubles me greatly that my elected city leaders have chosen to try to terminate the city's collective bargaining agreement with our firefighters union. The primary reason given for this action has been the need to reduce rising cost of overtime pay to our firefighters, a cost the city maintains is not sustainable due to running a deficit in the city's budget. Yet I know from my experience, and I must presume that our city leaders were advised by their negotiating team and attorneys, that the path they took of declaring impasse and terminating the contract would surely lead to a lawsuit by the union and would clearly be the most expensive route possible for addressing outstanding issues. When an employer takes the drastic step our city did, it says to me that they have dug in their heels and are ready and willing to spend money on attorney fees rather than spend the time necessary at the bargaining table to reach resolution. I want to say that I called Mayor Arnold after the last city council meeting, and I felt that we had a very sincere dialogue, which I really appreciated. We've also been playing a bit of phone tag the last few days, but had not caught up with one another. I know that I'm a resident looking in from the outside with only piecemeal information, but here are my thoughts for what they are worth. Number one, the true budget picture is murky to me, and our former long-term mayor has presented a quite different picture than our current administration. To me, I feel we need a deep dive in order to pinpoint these discrepancies and see if we're comparing apples to apples and why it's being presented so differently. Number two, bargaining is usually stressful, but toxic attitudes at the bargaining table can be fatal. Some new faces at the table might possibly be helpful. And number three, the city.
Thank you.
I'll just have one, it's literally a few seconds.
Yes, please finish.
Okay. The city should not be spending taxpayer money in court to defend their position that they had a right to terminate the contract and impose unilateral conditions. Instead, I hope and suggest that the city council acknowledge that the contract is still in effect and that such that both parties may return to bargaining with a renewed resolve for success. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, do we have any other hands up?
No.
And also maybe we wish you well on your recovery, by the way. All right, we will move on to new business. Does anyone have new business for us? No? How about unfinished business? Councilmember Franklin, would you call for the third reading of bill number 9221, please?
Yes, Madam Mayor, I'd like to call for the third and final reading of bill number 9221 and its subsequent adoption.
Second.
Bill 9221, third reading. An ordinance of the city of Webster Groves, Missouri, authorizing the city to participate in the Missouri Firefighters Critical Illness Trust and Pool, and further authorizing the city manager to execute such documents as may be necessary for the city's participation therein.
Is there any discussion? All right, let's have the vote then, please.
Yes, Mayor. Councilmember Bliss.
Yes.
Councilmember Franklin.
Yes.
Councilmember Smith.
Yes.
Councilmember Alexander.
We,
Yes.
Read a lip says yes, but.
yes, got it.
Councilmember Richardson.
Yes.
Councilmember Hickson Shepherd.
Yes.
Mayor Arnold.
Yes. All right, we'll move on to more general new business. Our first item is to select a subcommittee for judge appointment. But we're going to do a little bit something different there. To date, we have one applicant for the judge position. And so the city manager has asked that we extend the application deadline. Currently, we are scheduled to hear on the May 2nd work session from the candidates. So I think if we could close the applications the week before that, is that significant time? Do you think, Both Marie and Katie?
Yes, Mayor.
Okay, so I haven't looked at the calendar, so I don't know what date that is. But how about the week before? Okay, can we be that specific and it works? Is there anyone who has a disagreement with that?
No.
Can I ask one question just
Please.
for clarification? Assuming that we have not replaced Judge Whitney by his 75th birthday, are we allowed to appoint Judge Whitney as a special judge in order to serve
No,
until the appointment?
Unfortunately, he's aged out, which is frankly a position I don't understand, but he's aged out. So we can appoint a provisional. We have a provisional now.
Yeah.
Okay, so again, you'd.
But he can't do it regardless of the fact that he won't be judge in title. He would just be.
The only way he could do it is to get a special appointment from Oscar from the Supreme Court. Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
So what that means is we do have a hard deadline.
We have a hard deadline.
So the second part of this discussion then ought to be, I think, Dr. Peoples, if you could refresh my memory about do we want to consider raising the compensation for this position if we think that that's part of the hurdle here?
Thank you, Mayor. From looking at other municipalities, I think the compensation is fair and in line with other municipalities. Because we only have the one applicant, I don't have any feedback in terms of what perhaps the barrier is, if there is a barrier. So in working with Jenny Starkey, our goal is just to get a harder push on the application process. Word of mouth, certainly you all are our own best resource in getting some applications. So I would like the discussion to be had about perhaps increasing the salary, but at this point, it's not a recommendation. I think we need to hear from some other folks first.
I know of at least 3 people who called me this week who are going to be submitting their application. So I think we're going to have more before the 7th. I think that you'll have, and again, I've frankly been out ringing the bell, making sure that people of all varieties and sorts are making applications. So I think we'll have more.
Okay.
So I don't think the compensation is an issue.
Okay.
Generally speaking, these things aren't things that are done because of the money. So.
And this judge must be a resident of.
Charter
Webster.
requires.
Yes.
Mhm. City attorney doesn't have to be.
I don't know why.
Are there other comments? I mean, do we want to sit tight and see where we get within the next period of time?
I recommend we
Comfortable
do.
with that?
There may be a run on candidates. Yep.
Be good?
It would be good.
All right, so then let's extend the deadline and then we will keep the compensation where it is for the time being. Is that acceptable? Okay.
Thank you.
All right, Councilmember Bliss, could you call for the first and second reading of Bill number 9218, please?
Hello, yes, I would like to call for the first and second reading of bill number 9218.
Second.
Bill 9218, first reading, an ordinance of the city of Webster Groves, Missouri, repealing chapter 4, boards and commissions in its entirety and replacing it with the new chapter 4, boards and commissions as referenced in the attached exhibit A.
All right, are there questions or comments? We talked about this in work session a while ago. Just a note that one of the things is bill number 9219 is what has stripped out and made a separate chapter for the business districts and those related boards and commissions.
Just an update on that, the commissions for the business districts are still in chapter 4.
Sorry.
It's the revenue
Yeah.
and the sort of enabling charters of the business districts, which are in a separate chapter 44, which is near the other parts of the revenue codes for the city.
Yeah, thanks for that clarification. All right, any comments or questions? We'll have the second reading then, please.
Bill 9218, second reading, an ordinance of the city of Webster Groves, Missouri, repealing chapter 4, boards and commissions in its entirety and replacing it with the new chapter 4, boards and commissions as referenced in the attached exhibit A.
Thank you. Councilmember Smith, could you call for bill number 9219, first and second reading?
Yes, Mayor, I'd like to call for the reading, first and second reading of Bill 9219.
Second.
Bill 9219, second reading, an ordinance of the city of Webster Groves, Missouri, creating chapter 44, business districts as referenced in the attached exhibit A.
Any discussion? Let's have the second reading, please.
Bill 9219, second reading, an ordinance of the city of Webster Groves, Missouri, creating chapter 44, business districts as referenced in the attached exhibit A.
All right, is there anyone who would like to remove anything from the consent agenda?
9223.
Oh, I skipped one. Sorry about that.
That was going to be my favorite one too.
Yeah. Councilmember Richardson.
Yes, Mayor, I'd like to call for the first and second reading of bill number 9223. Do I have a second?
Second.
Bill 9223, first reading. An ordinance approving an agreement with the St. Louis County, Missouri regarding the placement of license plate recognition cameras within the rights of way maintained by St. Louis County within the city of Webster Groves, Missouri.
Questions or comments? Second reading, please.
Bill 9223, second reading. An ordinance approving an agreement with St. Louis County, Missouri regarding the placement of license plate recognition cameras within the rights of way maintained by St. Louis County within the city of Webster Groves, Missouri.
All right, let's try this again. Is there anyone who wants to remove anything from the consent agenda? All right, Councilmember Alexander, would you like to call for the approval of the consent agenda?
I read a lip
Second.
correctly.
Second. Yeah, okay. Hey, Councilmember Franklin,
Yes.
Councilmember Smith,
Yes.
Councilmember Alexander. Yes. Councilmember Richardson,
Yes.
Councilmember Hickson Shepherd,
Yes.
Mayor Arnold,
Yes.
Councilmember Bliss. Yes. I read lips.
There we go. Good. All right, we have made some appointments to boards and commissions. Maud Bouchard Trost has been appointed to the Arts Commission. Marilyn Bradley has been reappointed to the Arts Commission as well. Crossroads Special Business District Advisory Commission reappointments are Joshua Tonys and Chris Westmeyer. We will have a brief closed session.
You did say brief.
You heard my word, right?
Okay.
Brief. Which would be number 3 and 4.
Yep.
Mayor, I'd like to call for executive closed session related to personnel, Missouri statute 610.021, open friends, 3 closed friends, and negotiated contract, Missouri statute 610.021, open friends, 12 closed friends.
Second.
Councilmember Smith,
Yes.
Councilmember Alexander, Councilmember Richardson,
Yes.
Councilmember Hickson Shepherd,
Yes.
Mayor Arnold.
Yes.
Councilmember Bliss. Yes. Councilmember Frank.
Yes.
All right. Thank you all for being with us. We appreciate it.
Councilmember Alexander, I emailed you the link.
By the way, Proposition M